World of Words, Special Season, Days of the Ways. Episode 1, The Bittwege, the day that walks the fields. Welcome to the first episode of our new special season, Days of the Ways. A three-part movement through those early May days in which spring deepens its step and the world begins to show its quiet lines. This season leads you through three spaces: the Bittwege, the days that walk the fields, the day of the height, the day that lifts the gaze, ex audi, the day that waits for an answer. Today we step into the Bittwege, into days that are not loud but carried, into days that do not demand but order, into days that for centuries have been used to walk the land, to protect it, to bless it, to understand it. The Bittwege are not a festival, they are a gesture, a quiet movement that says, I walk to find order, I walk to understand the world, I walk to find peace. Perhaps as you listen, a small sense of gathering forms within you, a calm that does not stand still but carries, a clarity that does not cut but warms, a direction that does not need to be chosen, but it reveals itself. The Bittwege are an image for this moment, for a walking that does not move outward but inward, for a seeing that does not search but recognizes, for a light that does not rise but accompanies. Welcome to this day. Welcome to the Bittwege. Chapter 1. Welcome to a new episode of World of Words and to the first step into our special season, Days of the Ways. Yesterday we stood in the May blessing, in that day that holds the light and lays a quiet order over the world. Today we step into the Bittwege, into days that do not begin but encircle, into days that do not break open but accompany, into days that for centuries have been used to walk the land in order to understand it. The Bittwege are a quiet movement, a gesture that says, I walk to listen, I walk to see, I walk to find peace. Perhaps as you listen, a small sense of gathering forms within you, a calm that does not stand still but carries, a clarity that does not demand but warms, a direction that does not need to be sought because it reveals itself. Imagine a morning in which the fields are still cool and the dew lies on the paths like a quiet breath of a night. A morning in which the steps do not hurry but follow. The light, the wind, the old line of a path. The Bittwege are not a ritual of effort. They are a walking that orders, a seeing that soothes, a listening that carries. Perhaps you see before you a narrow path along the edge of a field, an old boundary, a line walked for centuries to bless the land, to protect it, to understand it. The Bittwege are an image for this moment, for a walking that does not lead away, it leads inward, for a light that does not demand but accompanies, for a peace that is not sought but arises. Welcome to this path. Welcome to the Bittwege. Chapter 2. The Inner Scene. Perhaps a space opens within you when you hear this word, Bittwege, a space that does not push outward but settles inward, A space that does not open but orders. A space that does not demand but accompanies. Imagine standing in an early morning before the day has found its direction. The air is cool but not cold. The light is present but not loud. It lies over the world like a quiet breath, as if waiting for you to notice the first step. Perhaps you feel within you a movement that does not hurry, does not press, does not search. A movement that gathers. A movement that says, I do not walk away. I walk inward. The Bittwege are an inner gesture. A gesture of ordering, not judging. A gesture of listening, not measuring. A gesture of walking, not fleeing. Perhaps you notice how thoughts that were restless find a place, not because you force them, but because the path carries them. How feelings that were heavy grow lighter, not because you push them away, but because the step sorts them. How a breath that was tight grows wider, not because you control it, but because the morning accompanies it. The Bittwege are an inner space in which you can feel that order is not made, but arises. That peace is not sought, but grows. That direction is not chosen, but becomes visible. Perhaps you see within you no great images, no strong symbols, no loud signs. Perhaps you see only a line. A quiet line running through your inner landscape, like an old path that has always been there, but becomes visible only now. The Bittwege are an image for this moment, for a walking that does not lead outward but returns, for a light that does not demand but accompanies, for a stillness that is not empty but wide. Perhaps a sentence forms within you, not loud, but lasting. I may walk. I may listen. I may find peace. The Bittwege are an inner place in which you can feel that every step carries a small order. An order that does not come from outside, but from within you. Chapter 3: The Outer Scene. Imagine a landscape in which the morning does not simply begin but gathers. A landscape in which the light does not rise but rests. In which the air does not push but carries. In which the ground does not demand but holds. Perhaps it is a path along the edge of a field, where the dew still lies like a quiet breath of a night. Perhaps an old boundary line, narrow, unassuming, yet carried by centuries. Perhaps a strip of meadow that connects villages, other fields, and draws the world into gentle lines. The Bittwege are paths not made for haste but for understanding. Paths that do not connect but encircle. Paths that do not shorten but accompany. Perhaps you hear footsteps on this path, not hurried, not heavy, but calm. Footsteps that do not drive but follow. The light, the wind, the old line of the way. The wind moves the grasses, but not searching, ordering. as if it were gently arranging the words so that everything finds its place. The birds sing, but not loudly, clearly, as if they were not opening the morning but affirming it. Perhaps you see hands brushing over leaves, not to test but to thank. Perhaps a face turning toward the light, not to seek but to rest. The Bittwege are not an event, they are a state in which the world says, here everything may be, here everything has its place, here everything becomes whole. Perhaps you notice how this outer scene awakens an inner calm in you, how the light orders something within you, how the wind clarifies something within you, how the morning gathers something in you. The Bittwege are a space in which the outer and the inner reflect one another, a space in which you can feel, I am part of a way that carries peace. Perhaps at the end of the path you see no decision, no crossroads, no pressure. Perhaps you see only a line that continues, a line that does not ask but accompanies. The Bittwege are an image for this morning, for a walking that orders, for a light that leads without pushing, for a word that does not grow larger but clearer. Chapter 4. The Word. Origin, Sound, Meaning. When we open the word Bittwege, we do not only open an old custom. We open a linguistic space that has carried walking, order, petition, and peace for centuries. Bittwege, a compound word that unfolds slowly as you speak it. Bittwege. 2 parts, 2 movements, 2 gestures, and between them a space in which something settles. 4.1. Bitte. An old word of turning and trust. The first part of the word leads us deep into the history of German. Bitte is one of the oldest words in the language. It does not only mean to ask or to request, it means to turn toward, to trust, to open. In older texts, a Bitte was not an expression of lack, but a gesture of relationship, a movement that said, I step forward because I know I will be heard. The Bitte was a quiet trust in the world, in the community, in the light, in what carries. When we speak of the Bittwege today, this old trust still resonates, not as demand, but as turning, not as a weakness, but as a stance. 4.2. Weg, a word that carries movement. The second part of the word is just as old. Weg, a word that, in almost all Germanic languages, holds the same sound, the same line, the same meaning. Awake is not only a route, it is a movement, a direction, a line that orders the world. In older cultures, a path was always more than a trail. It was a sign, a transition, a connection between inner and outer. A path said, many have walked here. You may walk here. The world will carry you. When we speak of the Bittwege, this meaning remains. A path that does not only lead, but accompanies. 4.3. The sound. Soft, calm, carrying. When we speak the word Bittwege slowly, a sound emerges that settles. Bittwege. The beginning is soft, the middle calm, the ending wide. It is a word that does not push but carries. A word that does not cut but warms. A word that does not demand but opens. Perhaps you feel as you hear it how something in you orders, not loudly but quietly, not abruptly but softly. The sound of this word is itself a small path, from inner to outer, from outer to inner, from the unclear to the ordered. 4.4. The meaning. Walking, petition, order. The Bittwege carry many layers. Walking, the movement that orders. Petition, the stance that trusts. Path, the line that carries. In older calendars, the Bittwege were days on which people walked the fields to protect them, to bless them, to understand them. But the deeper meaning lies not in the ritual, but in the gesture. A path that does not lead outward, but inward. A petition that does not demand, but trusts. An order that is not imposed, but arises. The Bittwege are a day in which the world gathers, and the inner world gathers with it. Chapter 5. Linguistic Miniatures. When we look at the word Bittwege, we do not see a single meaning. We see a landscape, a field of quiet gestures, a set of small windows through which the early May world reveals itself. Each miniature is a soft movement, a subtle shift of meaning, a way in which English carries walking, order, petition, and peace. Let us open these windows, one by one. 5.1. Step. The smallest form of order. A step is one of the oldest movements in language. It is small, unassuming, yet carrying. A step does not say, I have arrived. It says, I am on my way. On the Bittwege, the step is not haste, not escape, not forward pushing. It is a quiet ordering, a placing of the foot that is also a placing of the mind. Perhaps you feel how a single step can calm something in you, how it finds a rhythm that does not come from outside, but from within. The step is the smallest form of order, and yet it carries the greatest effect. 5.2. Petition. The language of turning. Petition is a word often overlooked because it sounds so ordinary. But in its depth it is an ancient sign of turning, a gesture that says, I step forward, I trust. On the Bittwege, petition is not demanding but opening, not pushing but listening, not lag but stance. Perhaps you feel how this word softens something in you, how it does not take but gives. Petition is the quiet sister of trust. 5.3. Path. The line that carries. A path is more than a trail. It is a line that orders the world. A path says, many have walked here, You may walk here. On the Bittwege, the path is not a goal but a movement. Not a push but an accompaniment. Not a forward but an inward. Perhaps you see before you a narrow field edge, an old boundary, a line that does not ask but carries. The path is the form in which the world reveals itself. 5.4 Encircling, the gesture of protection. Encircling is a quiet word, a word that does not confront but accompanies, a word that does not divide but embraces. In older traditions, to walk around the field was not avoidance but protection, not distance but relationship. Perhaps you feel how this word opens a soft movement in you, a circle that does not close but holds. Encircling is the gesture in which the world is touched gently. 5.5 Listening, the language of quiet hearing. Listening is a word that cannot be loud. It carries a stillness that is not empty but wide. On the Bittwege, listening is an inner movement, a hearing that waits not for words but for direction, a hearing that does not judge but recognizes. Perhaps you feel how a moment of listening orders something in you without naming it. Listening is the language of the path that reveals itself. 5.6 Peace, the sound of walking. Peace is not a state that appears suddenly. Peace is a movement that settles. On the Bittwege, peace does not arise from effort, but from decision, from aim. It arises from the walking itself, from the step that sets, from the breath that widens, from the line that appears. Perhaps you know this moment. You walk, and suddenly something in you grows quiet, not because you act, but because the path carries you. Peace is the quiet sound of the Bittwege, a sound that says, it may become good. Chapter 6 Cultural Miniatures. Across Europe and far beyond, the gesture of the Bittwege appears in many quiet forms, not as a spectacle, not as a command, but as a movement, a step that listens, a path that orders, a way of meeting the land with presence. These cultural miniatures are not grand rituals. They are lived gestures, small, steady, human ways of walking the world into clarity. Let us open these scenes one by one. 6.1 Germany, the field circles of early May. In Germany, the Bittwege were once a familiar rhythm of the year. Villagers walked the edges of their fields, following old lines that held memory, relationship, and quiet trust. The circle around the land was not a boundary of ownership, but a gesture of belonging. The steps were slow, the morning cool, the world wide. The land was not claimed, it was acknowledged. 6.2 Beating the bounds. The parish walks. In England, the ancient custom of beating the bounds carries a similar gesture. People walk the edges of their parish, touching stones, trees, corners of fields, as if to remind themselves of the shape of their belonging. It is a walking of memory, a way of saying, this is where we stand, This is what holds us. The path becomes a quiet map of community. 6.3 Ireland. The May lines of the fields. In Ireland, the early days of May carry a soft ritual of walking the land. Stone walls, hedgerows, long green lines. They are not only seen but felt. People walk the boundaries with gratitude, as if the land itself were a companion in the turning of the year. The path whispers, "May the ground beneath you rise to meet your step." 6.4 Scotland. The hill paths of early summer. In Scotland, the Bittwege find an echo in the quiet hill paths walked at the threshold of summer. The air is cool, the heather low, the sky pale and white. People walk upward, not to conquer the hill, but to meet it. The path becomes a conversation between wind and earth, between step and silence. 6.5 France. The ways between vineyards. In rural France, the early May mornings carry a gentle tradition of walking the lines between vineyards. The soil is soft, the vines young, the light warm but quiet. The walk is not labor but relationship, a way of greeting the land before the season begins. The path says, "Grow gently, grow well." 6.6 Italy. The olive grove paths. In Italy, the Bittwege resonate in the warm paths between olive trees. The morning light rests on silver leaves. The earth is soft. The air carries a quiet warmth. People walk slowly, touching bark, feeling the age of the trees, listening to the land's long memory. It is a walking of continuity. 6.7 Greece. The terrace paths above the sea. In Greece, the early spring terraces carry a gesture of walking that is both ancient and present. Stone steps, dry walls, narrow paths following the curve of the hill. People walk them to greet the season, to feel the land's breath, to honor the rhythm of growth and rest. The path is a soft descent into belonging. 6.8 Poland. The meadow edges of early May. In Poland, the edges of meadows become quiet paths in the first days of May. The grass is high, the air cool, the morning still. People walk the borders to feel the year turning, to sense the land's quiet order. It is a walking that gathers the world into gentle lines. 6.9 Japan. The rice field borders. Far from Europe, in Japan, a quiet counterpart appears in the walking of rice field edges at the beginning of planting season. The water reflects the sky, the earth is soft, the morning calm. People walk not to ask, but to honor. The path says, "I walk because I am part of this circle." Across these landscapes, the gesture is the same. Walking that orders, listening that carries, a line that connects. The Bittwege are European in origin, but their spirit is universal. Chapter 7 International Miniatures. When we look beyond Europe, we find that the gesture of the Bittwege, the quiet walking of land, the ordering of breath, the listening of step, appears in many places, not identical but resonant, not the same but kindred in spirit. These scenes are not about geography. They are about gesture, the way a path can open a world, the way a morning can gather a person, the way a step can become a small act of belonging. Let us walk these paths, slowly, one after another, as if we were moving through a quiet atlas of early light. 7.1 Germany, the morning path along the field's edge. Imagine a narrow path running along the edge of a field, still cool with dew, still carrying the breath of night. The grasses lean gently as if listening. The air is soft as if waiting. The world is wide, as if offering itself without urgency. You walk slowly, not because the path is difficult, but because the morning gathers you. Each step feels like a small agreement with the day, a quiet acceptance of the world as it is. This is the Bittwege in its original form, a path that does not lead away, but leads inward, toward a peace that rises from the ground itself. 7.2 England, the hedgerow walk. In England, a morning walk along a hedgerow carries the same quiet gesture. The leaves are fresh, still holding the pale green of early spring. The branches form a soft living boundary, not a wall, but a companion. The path curves gently, following the land's own rhythm. Birdsong threads through the air like a thin line of brightness. You walk beside the hedge, feeling its shelter, its presence, its quiet order. There is no hurry here, no demand, only a sense that the world is listening as you move. The path seems to say, walk gently. The morning is wide enough for everything you carry. 7.3 France, the vineyard line at dawn. In France, a path between young vines becomes a soft corridor of morning light. The soil is warm, still holding the memory of yesterday's sun. The air is fragrant with the first hints of growth. The vines stand in long, radiant rows, their leaves trembling in the early breeze. You walk slowly, feeling the land's rhythm, a rhythm that is not rushed, not forced, but steady, like a breath that has found its pace. The world here does not open suddenly. It opens gently, as if inviting you to match its calm. 7.4 Italy, the olive grove path in early May. In Italy, the olive trees stand like quiet elders of the land, their trunks twisted, their leaves silver, their presence steady. The path winds between them, warm and soft, carried by centuries of footsteps and seasons. The morning light rests on the leaves like a soft hand. The air is mild, the world unhurried. You walk not to arrive, but to belong, to feel the continuity between your step and the long memory of the trees. Here, walking becomes a way of listening to time itself. 7.5 Greece, the terrace path above the sea. In Greece, a narrow stone path follows the curve of a hillside overlooking the sea. The air is bright, the morning clear, the horizon wide. The terraces fall away in quiet steps, each one holding a small piece of earth that has been tended for generations. You walk slowly, feeling the land's ancient rhythm, a rhythm shaped by wind, by stone, by the long patience of those who walked before you. The sea below breathes in a steady pulse, as if echoing your own. 7.6 Poland, the meadow path in spring light. In Poland, a wide meadow opens like a soft green field of breath. The grasses sway gently, their movement slow, their sound quiet. The path through the meadows is barely visible, a thin line of pressed grass, a suggestion more than a road. You walk with a sense of quiet order, as if the land itself were arranging your thoughts. The morning is cool, the light pale, the world gentle. Here walking becomes a way of settling into the day. 7.7 Canada, the Forest Edge Trail. In Canada, a trail along the edge of a spring forest carries the same stillness. The trees are tall, their trunks dark, their leaves just beginning to open. The air is crisp, the light soft, the world spacious. You walk with a sense that the forest is breathing beside you, a slow, steady presence that does not speak but accompanies. The path feels like a quiet threshold between shelter and openness. 7.8 New Zealand, the Farm Edge Walk. In New Zealand, a path along the edge of a field becomes a quiet line between land and sky. The morning is bright, the air clear, the world wide. The hills roll gently, their curves soft, their colors warm. You walk with a sense of gentle presence, as if the land were guiding you without words, without pressure, simply by being itself. 7.9 Peru, the Andean Terrace Path. High in the Andes, the terraces form long, quiet lines that follow the shape of the mountain. The air is thin, the light sharp, the world immense. You walk slowly, feeling the breath of the land, the rhythm of the earth, the quiet relationship between human and place. Each step feels like a small act of respect, a way of acknowledging the vastness around you and the steadiness beneath you. Across these landscapes, the gesture is the same. A step that listens, a path that orders, a world that opens. The Bittwege are not a single tradition. They are a way of walking that the world recognizes. Chapter 8 Meditation, the path that settles. Find a posture in which your breath has room and your body can soften. Perhaps you sit, perhaps you stand, perhaps you walk slowly through your own quiet space. Everything carries as long as you feel carried. Let the day move gently into the background. The sounds around you become a soft fabric. Thoughts that appear drift onward like clouds, while you remain here, in this moment, in this breath. And now imagine you are standing on a path, a narrow line at the edge of a field in the early morning. The light lies low on the earth. It rests on the ground like a quiet hand that shapes the world without effort. The air is cool and friendly. The day breathes slowly. You feel the ground beneath your feet. It carries you with a calm that spreads through your body. It holds you with a clarity that widens your breath. Breathe in, slowly, deeply. Breathe out, a little further, a little softer. With each breath, the path opens a little more. It reveals itself with a quiet certainty. It invites you without urging. It accompanies you as you become ready for the first step. And then you walk. One step. Only one. A step that is soft. A step that gives space. A step that brings order. With this step, a small clarity forms within you. A thought finds its place. A feeling receives a shape. A breath becomes wider. The morning settles into you like a gentle river. You walk further, step by step. Each step a quiet arrangement with the day. Each step a small gesture of arriving. Each step a rhythm that carries you. Perhaps you see the fine lines in the grass drawn by the wind. Perhaps you hear the soft rustling of the field. Perhaps you feel the warmth of the light on your skin. The path does not ask for speed, for direction, for certainty. It simply offers itself as a place where you may walk with presence. You continue, slowly, gently, with the sense that the world is opening around you. The Bittwege are a space in which you can feel, I may walk, I may listen, I may find peace. The day carries you, the path accompanies you, the morning opens you. Chapter 9. Thank you for walking with me today along the quiet lines of the Bittwege. Perhaps a small space has opened within you, a space where order lives, not as a rule but as a breath. Perhaps a direction has softened into view, not chosen but revealed. Perhaps a calm had settled in you, not imposed but grown. The Bittwege remind us that peace does not arrive through haste, through pressure, through striving. It arrives through walking, through the gentle rhythm of step and breath, through the quiet trust that the land beneath us carries more than we can see. As you move through your day, you may feel a small echo of this early morning path. A sense of space, a soft clarity, a quiet readiness for what wishes to unfold. Perhaps you notice the way the air changes in the coming days. A little warmer, a little wider, a little more open. Perhaps you sense the first green rising, the softening of the ground, the way the world leans gently toward early May. The Bittwege are not a single moment, they are a gesture of walking, of listening, of quiet belonging. And this gesture may accompany you as you move forward, a reminder that beginnings do not need to be loud to be real. In the next episode, we will open a new word, a new early May gesture, a new movement of the season, the day of the Hide. Until then, keep the calm, keep the clarity, keep the rhythm of this path. Thank you for listening. Thank you for walking here. If you feel called to wander a little deeper, scripts, audio pieces, and small companion materials are available on my channels, including YouTube and PayHip. Perhaps one of them will walk a little further with you.